Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. For some reason it feels like it's been 84 years since I last uploaded. It's only been like a week, but anyways, in recent times there has been a lot of discussion on the generation of K-pop that debuted from 2018 onwards, otherwise known as the fourth generation of K-pop, and I noticed that a lot of the discussion tends to be negative. There are so many videos on the problem with 4th gen K-pop or the issues with 4th gen K-pop, and I thought today it could be interesting for me to give my thoughts on these opinions that I hear very frequently. Disclaimer, this video is not intended to invalidate anyone's opinions if I disagree with them, nor spread any hate. You're allowed to disagree with my thoughts, just drop a comment down below without attacking me. These are not facts, nor do I present them as facts. And without further ado, let's get into it.
Get it! Hey! Shake it! Hey!
It wouldn't make sense to deny the rise in groups who mainly circulate around dancing in recent years, but I don't really understand the idea of it just being a dance competition, because even though there are a lot of dance-centered groups, for example ITZY, there hasn't really been any damage done to the musical aspect of K-pop, at least in my eyes, which is why I can't really see why so many people have a big problem with this. Dance is often the thing that attracts people to K-pop and certain groups in general, which brings in the sales and the money, and we all know that companies love money, so we honestly should have seen this coming. And also, there are many exceptions to this statement. The first that I can think of would be G-Idol. Yes, of course, G-Idol has some talented dancers, and for the most part their choreographies are good, but from my perspective it seems like they are much more heavily focused on the vocal and production aspect, and they have one of the most skilled female rappers of this generation. So yes, whilst I think that there are a lot of dance-centered groups nowadays, the statement that it is only a dance competition is false in my opinion, because the musical aspect isn't suffering and many exceptions do apply. I would just like to know, the people who say this, what side of 4th gen are you looking at? Like, what groups do you consider part of 4th gen? Because to say that there are 0 good vocalists is not only a major generalization, but it's just incorrect. Like, just now I can think of like 50 great vocalists off the top of my head. For example, Yuri from IZ*ONE, Chu and Hassel from Luna, Yedam from Treasure, honestly all of Treasure's vocal line, the entirety of TXT. Hypen has some great vocalists too. I can think of way more as well, but I don't have time to name them in this video. Yes, there may be more dance-focused groups now, as I said, but that doesn't mean that there aren't any good singers at all, and it kind of annoys me when people say that there aren't. Okay, before any Orbits and Vivi stans come at me for having Vivi on screen whilst talking about this, please let me explain. I don't hate Vivi or anything, but I do kind of agree with the statement that there are quite a lot of filler members in the 4th gen, particularly in larger groups. When I say someone is a quote-unquote filler member, I'm not saying that I think they're untalented or incapable of adding anything to the group. I just think that that means that their company is preventing them from being able to really seem like part of the group. And I'm using Vivi as an example here. Vivi is very talented and she has the capability to add a lot to the group, but Blockberry Creative has made a habit of always pushing her to the back. This was especially noticeable during So What era. She literally got 2 seconds of lines, 2 seconds, and looked more like one of those random girls in the music video than an actual member. Things got a little bit better in Why Not, but overall Vivi doesn't get done justice most of the time. And no, I'm not saying that she shouldn't be a part of Luna or anything, but I do think that if Blockberry has her as part of the lineup, they should treat her like an actual member. The issue of filler members also exists in the previous generations, but I do think that the problem has become much more prominent in the fourth generation of K-pop. And once again, this is not the fault of the idols themselves, but rather the companies and the way that they choose to manage their groups. I think the obsession with wanting originality that many K-pop fans have is just going to result in most people being unhappy with most releases, because the truth is the music industry is so oversaturated that it is virtually impossible to create something that's actually never been done before. It's reasonable to want something relatively unique, like I know that it can be irritating to get what seems like the same song over and over again, but you also have to understand that companies follow trends and release more commercial sounding songs so that their groups are more successful. Dreamcatcher, for example, I don't think they count as 4th gen. I'm pretty sure they're a 3rd gen group. I could be wrong. I'm just using them as an example to talk about trends and stuff. They have a very unique sound, this sort of like pop rock fusion sound, which we don't see a lot of in K-pop. But they have often been described as underrated by fans. And I think that the main reason as to why they're perhaps not as big as other groups is that their sound is a very acquired taste that makes it difficult for everyone to enjoy their music. I, for one, used to not really vibe with their music. I like some of their songs now, but overall, like, I'm not super, like, in love with their songs, just because their style isn't really for me. It's not bad, but, you know, personal taste. And as I mentioned already, the K-pop world moves by in trends. Girl crush and boy crush concepts were trending at one point in time, and as a result of that, they became very repetitive, and it felt like almost every group was doing them. And now we're experiencing a similar thing with the retro concept. And I personally don't have a problem with the retro trend. I actually like it a lot, but I know a lot of people are tired of it. What's important is to recognize that this is the case in all generations, not just 4th gen. And yes, in previous generations we may have had a few standout groups with more like wacky and different concepts, like Red Velvet in the 3rd gen and Orange Caramel in the 2nd gen. But there are probably a few groups like that in 4th gen that we just haven't seen enough. Also, this opinion makes the assumption that every single song that comes out 4th gen is basic and sounds the same, which is something that doesn't really make sense when songs like Icy by ITZY and Side Effects by Stray Kids exist. I actually disagree with this one quite a lot, because I think there's a lot of creativity throughout 4th gen. Luna is a prime example of that. Luna's debut project was something that had never been done before, and the whole Lunaverse thing built around them through the use of song lyrics and music videos and like unreleased short films and stuff that's shown in like fan signs, I believe. And the way that each member has a representative colour and animal and shape, and all the theories and storylines and symbolism. It's really interesting and engaging to me, and it is quite creative. And it's not just Luna that has this sort of intricate lore and storyline running throughout their discography. Groups like TXT and CIX, I believe, also seem to have storylines. Storylines aside, I still think that there is a lot of creativity in the music as well. Once again, using Luna as an example, they've explored not just a range of concepts, but also a range of genres of music. And there's a video by Love for Chani which identifies each of these genres. I really recommend you check it out. I'll put it in the eye in the corner. G-Idol as well are very experimental and versatile when it comes to trying out different concepts. So yeah, I actually think that there is quite a lot of examples of creativity in 4th gen, but I understand if someone would disagree. This is something that I would actually say I agree with. Idols have been debuting from the age of like 16 for quite a while now, but in 4th gen there seems to be more and more by Twice, more and more idols debuting at ages as young as 14 years old. The youngest idol that I stan at the moment is Jungwon from Treasure. He's actually only a few months older than me, which is really weird. Like, it feels weird standing someone like who's around the same age as me. There's also Wonyoung from IZ*ONE, who's around like a year older than I am. And yeah, in a sense, it's kind of cool that there are idols who are around the same age as me, because it makes them a bit more relatable, I guess. But at the same time, it does worry me a bit sometimes. We all know how harsh the K-pop industry can be and the immense amount of pressure that it puts on its idols. Issues like overworking and extreme body weight management are things that many idols have to suffer through, and by being part of the industry, these young idols are fully exposed to that, not to mention any hateful comments that they might come across. In addition to this, it must be so stressful to not only have a full-time job, but also have school on the top of that. Like, I don't even have a job and I get really stressed from school, so I can't even imagine how hard things must be for young idols. It can't be great for their mental health. I will acknowledge that obviously they became idols voluntarily and their parents are okay with it. And as I said, I stan a lot of young idols. I don't think like they should leave their group or anything. That's not what I'm saying. But I do hope that in future that there will be more consideration as to whether being an idol at such a young age is a good idea when it comes to mental health. There are a few more opinions that I could talk about, but I didn't want to make this video too long, so I'm just going to end it here. Feel free to comment some of your own 4th gen opinions as well as your thoughts on the ones that I talked about. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time in another video. Bye!